Welcome back, children. Today we will see the second part of the story of Grandpa's Friend along with the last poem of the chapter and unit Friendship. So let's begin. This is the second part of Grandpa's Friend, the story that will continue ahead into the second part. In the first part, we have seen that John was trying to convince grandfather Pop-up that we should get rid of that chair, where he now the grandfather is answering to John. Let's see what he has answered. You don't understand, John. Pop-up shook his head from side to side, and after a long pause, he said, I sit in this chair with your grandma right here when I asked her to marry me. It was so long ago, but when I sit in this chair and close my eyes, I feel she is near. The old man passed his hand gently along the arms of the chair. So, Grandpa was trying to make John understand that he proposed his grandma sitting on this chair to marry him. Though this entire information about the chair and their memory is of a long ago, of a past time, but when he closed his eyes he feel that his wife and grandmother of John is sitting next to him, and he feels good about it. So he is sharing this entire incident related to this chair and this entire memory related to this chair and to the grandma. It's amazing, John thought, how Pop-up can remember things from the past. In the present, he forgets almost everything. John sat down on the floor by Pop-up's feet and listened as the old man went on. He was amazed. John was amazed, thinking that grandfather is not able to remember the things which has taken place in present time, and he is able to recall those things of the past. So he sat down next to his feet and listened to what he was saying. And the night your father was born, I sat in this chair. I was nervous. I was scared when they placed the tiny baby into my arms. Yet I was never happier. A smile suddenly lit his old face. Happier. Then he recalled another incident related to this chair, and that was of the birth of Matt, the John's father. He was very scared, he was very nervous, but he felt so good when that little baby, that means Matt, John's father, was placed into his arm. And suddenly, a smile, a smile suddenly lit off his old face, and John was able to see a small smile on Grandpa's old face. I think I am beginning to understand, John said thoughtfully. He was trying to understand and he was very thoughtful about it. Many years later, Pop-up's voice broke and he paused a moment before he continued. I sat in this chair when the doctor called and told me that your grandma was ill. I was lost without her, but the chair gave me comfort and warmth. The old man's sadness seems to grow as he recalled that unfortunate day. Then the next memory related to the chair, that he got a bad news about the grandma, about his wife, uh, Pop-up's wife, that he was not very well, and recalling that unfortunate day, he felt very sad. I am sorry, Pop-up. John looked at his grandfather and said, I do see now that I do see now this is not just an old chair. This chair is more like your friend. So when he was beginning to understand and John was thoughtful, he was able to understand this is not just a mere chair, but it is a friend to him. Yes, you have gone through a lot together, Pop-up said. The chair and the grandfather together has seen many good and bad times together. That night, however, when John and Pop-up were asleep, John's mom and dad carried that chair out to the footpath. It was a starless night, though spring had set in. Snow fell slightly from the black sky and covered Pop-Up's chair with a blanket of white. So, when this entire conversation between the grandson and grandfather was over and they were sleeping into a starless night when there were no stars and snow was also falling. At that time, John's mom and his father took the chair and they kept it on the footpath, and the entire blanket of white snow was there on the chair. Next morning, when John came downstairs, Pop-Up stood by the window and looked outside. A tear rolled down his hollow cheeks. John followed the old man's gaze and froze. Snow covered the chair. Chair stood on the footpath out of the house. It shook John. He ran outside. Wait, don't take the chair, he shouted, waving both arms in the air as he rushed to stop the men from taking the chair away. When he ran back inside and faced his mom, looked look at Pop-Up, mom. You can't throw out his chair. This is not just a chair. This chair has been with Pop-Up for a very long time. This chair is like a friend. So next day when the John came down and uh, John came down and he saw his grandfather was looking at something and looking at something, and he was very upset looking at something. So he also started looking where and what he is looking, and when he saw that the chair was outside, he really felt the shock of it. Who must have kept it? Then he immediately went out and stopped the garbage truck from taking that chair, and he came back. When he saw, and he told his mom, he faced his mom and he said, you cannot throw the chair of Pop-Up because it's not just a chair, it's a friend of Pop-Up. They have been together for a very long time. He tried to explain what he has begun to understand based on the sharing that grandpa or Pop-Up has done with him. John's mom turned and looked at the old man. Slowly she walked towards him. With her middle finger and ring finger, she wiped away a tear, and then she took the old man's face into both her hands and said, I am sorry, Pop-Up. I guess I just didn't realize how much the chair meant to you. John and I will bring your chair back. And she realized that she made a mistake and she apologized. That means she said sorry to the grandpa, and she realized that chair is more important to him as memories are associated with it. And he wiped her, and she wiped his and she wiped his tears from his face. They brushed off the snow with their hand and pushed the chair back inside. They placed it next to the fireplace so it could dry. John's mom stepped back then, and as if seeing the chair for the first time, spoke to herself, I guess it does give the room a certain touch of character. And John and Pop-Up wholeheartedly agreed that the living room would be rather dull without this old chair. So mom and John went outside. They bought the chair inside. They both kept the chair near the fireplace so it becomes dry. And she realized, and she started saying to herself that it gives a certain touch of character to the entire living area. And wholeheartedly John and Pop-Up also agreed that room would look dull in absence of this chair. So in this poem of friendship, this entire chapter 2 is first start with the poem, and again it comes with the two parts of the story, that is grandfather's friend part 1 and part 2, where they try to explain the relationship between an object and a person. An object and a person together can be a friend. It's not necessary for being a friend we need to be having a living being only. We can be a friend with non-living objects also. So that relationship of living and non-living friendship together is being shown in this, and many memories are associated with the chair, and that's how that non-living object has turned into a living object for someone and becomes important for someone. So that's it for this thing. In the next part of this chapter, we'll again see one poem on the friendship, and then we will consolidate the entire thing what we have learned. Student, this is the third poem in unit 2 chapter friendship, and this is a very simple poem. You would understand when I'll be reading it. At the same time, I'll make you explain also. Friendship, and this poem is written by the poet Nicole Richie. So let's start with friendship. When you are sad, I will dry up your tears. When you are scared, I will ease your fear. That means when a friend of mine is sad, I will be the person who would wipe her tears. That means I will see to it that tears are not in her eyes. When you are scared, I will ease your fears. When she would be very scared, I would be the person who would make her very comfortable. I would feel make her easy with her fears. When you are worried, I will give you hope. If you want to give up, I will help you cope. When a friend of mine would be very worried, I'll see that I give her a hope, I talk to her nicely, I give her a solution. And if she want to give up, if she don't want to do a particular thing, then I will see that I help her to cope up. To cope up means to come out from a particular situation. When you are lost and can't see the light, I'll be your beacon shining so bright. When she would be lost and she would not understand what to do, then I would be her beacon. Beacon means what? Lighthouse, which guides. So I will guide her, I will give her that light of my understanding to come out from that lost situation of hers. This is my oath that I pledge to the end. This is my oath. Oath means what? Shapat. Pledge means what? Promise. So, this is my oath that I promise to the end. Why? You may ask. You may ask why you are doing so much things for me. Because you are my friend. This is a very short and simple poem.